Welcome, my friends, to a new episode of TEFL Insider, and today we're going to talk about TQUK assignment number 6. Right, and of course these are the assignments we use at Britishey Training Center. Let me tell you about how we're supposed to be dealing with this assignment. This assignment is about receptive skills. It's about listening and reading. And if we go to part 1, it is divided into two sections, 1.1 and 1.2. 1.1 is about actually listening, and 1.2 is about reading. So in 1.1, it reads as follows. It says, explain and provide examples of extensive and intensive listening from course books. Now, what is extensive listening? It's listening for gist, listening for the overall meaning, listening for understanding the whole meaning of the text. And intensive listening is about listening for details. It's about careful listening. Now, so two sub-skills here. Extensive listening, which is listening for gist, or intensive listening, which is listening for details. Now, wonderful. And you're asked to give examples from course books. So first, you need to explain, which is simply provide a definition. And 2, you need to give examples, which is simply go into a course book, screenshots from activities, and Bob's your uncle. So in order to organize answer in 1.1, this is what you need to do exactly. Number 1, define what extensive listening is. Then take screenshots of 2 activities focusing on listening for gist from course books. It can be any level, it can be any course book, we don't care. And then you go to intensive listening, do the same. Provide a definition of what intensive listening is. Then 2 screenshots of intensive listening activities taken from any course book for any level. Wonderful. And this way, 1.1 is over. Now we go to 1.2, and 1.2 is about skimming and scanning. Let's read it. It says, explain and provide examples of skimming and scanning from course books. You will do the same things. All I need is a couple of definitions and 4 activities. 2 for skimming and 2 for scanning. But what is skimming? Skimming, my friends, is reading for gist or reading for the main idea. Now, scanning is reading for specific information. And reading for specific information is different from reading for details. Reading for specific information is about finding a name of a city, a name of a person, finding a number. Then what you need to do is to provide a definition of skimming, 2 screenshots from activities from a course book. These activities should be focusing on skimming, and don't forget to mention the reference. And then you do the same with the scanning. Provide a definition of what scanning is, and then 2 screenshots from activities focusing on scanning from any course book for any level. And once you finish this, Bob's your uncle. You're done with part 1. Now let's come to 2.1 in the assignment. And the question is as follows. Explain the typical stages of reading development. And this needs a bit of a research from you, right? You need to research the stages of reading development. And there is a lovely article on Britishey website about this also that you can benefit from, along also with other references and resources. Now let's move to the following question, which is about evaluating reading materials and activities. And the question says, evaluate the following reading lesson from American English 5, Book 2, covering all the included activities. And actually, the activities are provided in the assignment here. So all what you need is to analyze activity 2A and activity 2B, and activity 2C and activity 2D. So 4 main activities here. And my advice In order to evaluate activities, then you need to be following specific criteria. And the first thing that you need to search for is criteria for assessing and evaluating coursebook activities. There is also another article available for you on Britishey.com that you can benefit from. And you can also research other references and try to find, criteria there. Now, once you find the criteria, I advise you to organize your answers in this manner. So you go to activity A, you write activity A, and then you list the criteria, and then you write a comment on activity A next to each criteria. So you see whether activity A matches the criterion or not, and why. And this is what you do with the 4 activities, A, B, C, and D. And once you do this, everything is fine in this part. Now let's go to 2.4 in the assignment, and it's about discourse markers. And what is required from you is to provide 2 activities focusing on discourse markers. And these activities can be matching activities, can be text completion, sentence completion, whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is that the activity focuses on discourse markers. Now, what are discourse markers? Now, discourse markers are words that are used in speaking or writing in order to direct the listener or reader. For example, when you're speaking and then you say to someone, so let me tell you about what happened. That's a kind of a discourse marker. Now, one point I forgot to mention, discourse marker. However, discourse marker. Although, discourse marker. Now, one thing I need to mention, discourse marker. And it goes like that. So discourse markers are words that direct the reader or the listener. Now, someone might say, Shadi, what does that mean? Can we bring a script of a listening text? Yes. Can we use a reading text? Yes. And then you design an activity focusing on discourse markers. Okay? And it doesn't matter what kind of activities. And there is a section on discourse markers also in the handbook you're advised to go and read. Now, the following activity, which is 2.5, is a very easy one, and it says match and reading activities to different levels. So match the following text to their accurate CEF levels, and CEF stands for the Common European Framework of Reference. A1, A2, B1, B2, and C2. So how many levels? 5. You need to match these 5 passages to these 5 levels. What you need to look at is look at the vocabulary, how complicated it is, look at also the structure, how complicated it is, and then decide which level, this passage is at, right? Wonderful. Now let's move to 2.6, and it says targeted activities for different learner levels. And again, it says elementary beginner level, prepare an activity where students read a short text and answer basic comprehension questions, focusing on key vocabulary and simple sentence structures. So you will do the following. You'll provide a short text at the elementary level or the beginner level, and then design one activity with comprehension questions based on that text. End of story. You can design 3 or 5 or 4 comprehension questions on the text. We'll be happy with that. The most important thing that the text is at the elementary or beginner level, and the questions are comprehension questions. In other words, there are questions focusing on understanding areas in the passage. Now when we move to the intermediate level, it says develop 2 activities. So this time 2 activities. The previous level, it was 1 activity, but this one you need 2 activities, isn't it? That involve the students reading an article. So you're going to provide an article, students will read it, and discussing the writer's opinion, tone, and target audience, as well as summarizing the key points. And I recommend that you do this. You provide 1 activity that the students are asked about the writer's opinion, the writer's tone, and the target audience. And another activity where you ask your students to summarize the main points in the article. Okay? And you will have these 2 activities ready then. Now let's move to point 3 in the assignment or the coming level, which is the advanced level. And it says, design 2 activities where students analyze complex texts. So it has to be a text at the advanced level. Evaluate the author's argument and provide critical responses. And this means that the students need to be asked questions where they give their opinion. Do they agree with the writer? Yes or no? And why? They need to criticize the writer's opinion, giving critical responses. And it says encourage students to use advanced vocabulary and express their opinions in a more nuanced way. Then we are required in this part to provide 5 activities. 1 for the beginner level, the beginner elementary level, 2 for the intermediate level, and 2 for the advanced level. What about the ones in the advanced level? Again, we need these 2 activities to be focusing on the argument of the writer, where students give critical responses. Critical responses means they would be asked to criticize the writer's opinion. And be careful. We need these activities to be at the right level. So those for beginner or elementary, they need to be at this level. Those for intermediate students, they need to be at the intermediate level. And also the text, okay, related to the advanced level, it needs to be that. Someone might say, Shadi, what if the text I provided for the advanced students is only enough for 1 activity about the writer's argument? Can I provide another text and add another activity? The answer is yes, it's possible. You can do this. And my friends, that is the end of the assignment. And remember, make sure that when you write, okay, your writing is 100% accurate. Make sure you also provide citation in text and bibliography. Thank you so much, my friends, and see you again. Bye-bye.